Weekendje Texel, ben jij er al geweest? Weekendje Texel, want weekendje op Texel. Weekendje Texel.
Sea level rise, a well-known and increasingly urgent consequence of climate change. Despite being a scientific issue, it is one that may influence our lives more often than we notice. The impacts of the rising sea levels vary. Some effects are newsworthy, but not nearly all of them. Many are not even directly visible. Indirect consequences like ecological degradation or rising economic costs often go unnoticed, leading to gaps in public understanding and awareness. Recent studies show growing public concern about sea level rise, although there is still a lack of research on how specific communities perceive and experience the local and indirect impacts, especially across different social groups. One such group is found on the island of Texel, where life is deeply tied to the sea. So, as sea level rise, so does the urgency to protect the island's fragile coastline. Key to preserving Texel is sand nourishment, the process of adding sand to beaches and nearshore areas to maintain the based coastline. This technique is used more and more. But how much do beach users on Texel know about these changes? We have investigated this to try to answer the question, to what extent are beach users on Texel aware of the effects of sand nourishment as a solution to the impacts of sea level rise? We expect to find that people who know more about this topic will be more likely to show concern about the effects, as well as being more willing to adapt their behavior and lifestyle. Let's go see if we are right.
Hello, I'll be talking to you about the method and statistics behind our research. To measure the beach users' awareness, we divided our concept into three different aspects: their knowledge, their fear and concern, and their willingness to adapt their lifestyle and behaviors. The target population, the beach users on Texel, we also divided into three different groups: tourists, resident, and entrepreneur workers. In this way, we successfully managed to have an equal distribution of the different groups in our surveys and research. Our scoring system. We decided to test the knowledge of our participants through asking them questions about the knowledge they had of sea level rise and sand nourishment. One correct answer would be you would be given 1 point, and if you had a partial of answer correct, you would get a partial point. This way we could see how much knowledge they had of the different sectors. The level of concern, fear, and willingness to comply we measured with a 5-point Likert scale, where they had ranging from not worried to very worried. After the data was collected, we visualized them using different graphs so we could find a correlation of them.
When looking at the graphs, we see a slight negative correlation in the knowledge sum and the concerns that people show. This means that when people have more knowledge about the topics, they are less concerned about the effects of sand nourishment. About 100%, not about, 100% of the respondents knew what sea level rise was, but interestingly, only 80% knew about sand nourishment. Now, when we look at only the knowledge about sand nourishment, we see the same slight negative correlation, meaning that people who know a lot about sand nourishment, they also have little concern about the effects. And if you look at the graph, you see that people either know a lot about sand nourishment or nothing at all. There is no in between.
These graphs show that we found no correlation between the sum of the knowledge and their willingness to adapt. The same goes for the relationship between only the knowledge of sand nourishment and their willingness to adapt. This, however, is not in line with our hypothesis. However, from our interviews we can derive that some people are willing to adapt on certain areas, such as gathering information. We did not specify this in our hypothesis.
To analyze the response of the beach users per group, we made these box plots. When we look at the level of concern, we see that residents and tourists have the most concern. They're about the same, but when we look at the workers, they are less concerned about the effects of sand nourishment. When we look at the willingness to adapt there, however, we see that the workers have the highest willingness to adapt, and the tourists and residents have less. During our research, we got one very big limitation, and that was the amount of people willing to do our survey. This had three reasons. First of all, a lot of people were on vacation or couldn't be bothered to do our survey, so they rejected us. Secondly, a lot of people were German, so they couldn't fill out the survey. And third, there were a lot of students on the island already doing surveys as well, so people were less inclined to do our survey. Because of this, the quantity of our data was very low, and it was very hard to derive a reliable conclusion of our data.
Alright, let's talk about the conclusion. How did it go?
Well, our research did not go as expected. but we were able to adapt so that we could still answer our research questions.
And what were we able to find out about the knowledge of beach users on Texel and about sea level rise and sand nourishment?
Well, we have found that people know a lot about sea level rise. However, sand nourishment knowledge is lower, with about a fifth of the respondents indicating not having any knowledge. However, those who do seem to have a solid base understanding of what it is, and we also saw this reflected in our interviews. The level of concern among respondents was mostly low or non-existent, and willingness to adapt was found to be mostly high.
Our method of measuring awareness led to aspects leveling each other out, leading to results that were not significantly high or low. In future research, we recommend more effective data collection methods and a different way of measuring awareness. There was high variation between the aspects, leading to a conclusion that might not accurately reflect awareness.